these fine little guzzlers. I need some cookies. And I'm going to make some peanut butter ones, because I love peanut butter. Now, to be honest, I prefer the old crunchy peanut butter. I know a lot of people don't. For this recipe, I'm going to use smooth, although you could probably get away with using crunchy, but we're using smooth with this one. So it's essentially like a sugar cookie, but obviously peanut butter flavour. So we're going to start with putting into our stand mixer some soft unsalted butter, 113 grams of that. Remember, we're going to be putting peanut butter in this, so we don't need a lot of butter. And then we're going to do a mixture of sugars. I've got some caster sugar here. How much of that? 100 grams of that. In that goes. And then I've got 100 grams of soft brown sugar. In that goes. So I'm going to put the paddle attachment on. Getting what we're doing then. And we're just going to cream that all together. Now, I've got 250 grams, like I say, of peanut butter there. It's not particularly salty, but if it is salty, then you don't have to add any more salt. But I'm going to add a little bit of salt. If you've got unsalted peanut butter, you might want to add just a pinch of salt, but that's sort of up to you. And then we're going to put that peanut butter, if it wants to come out of the bowl, into there, and we're then just going to get that all combined in as well. Now you're going to want an egg, a little bit of vanilla extract, and some baking powder. Baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon, and some flour. We want 180 grams of plain flour. But before we come to that, we want to get this mixed in. So you might want to do a scrape down, hence I've kept my spatula there, and then we want to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 large egg. Then we're just going to get that all combined together. Now we're just going to sift our flour and baking powder into that. And then that's all our ingredients together. I think I might have said you want the oven on about 160. So get this paddle back in there, get that all incorporated. So that's all nicely combined. It's quite a dry dough. You can see as soon as I picked that paddle out of there, literally it just fell off into the bowl. So now we're ready to form our cookies. Now for this you're going to want a fork, okay, because if we just form the cookies and put them in the oven, they will tend to sort of crack and crumble as they do it. So what we need is to flatten them, but also put some ridges on them, and that'll help keep them compact without the sort of all the, not really breaking up, but sort of looking like they're going to. So I'm just going to get a bit of space here. I've got some baking trays with some liners or baking paper or whatever you want on there. And like I say, my oven's on about 160. We're going to make these cookies about 30 grams in size. Okay, if you want, you could go for 40. Okay, but I'm going to make them slightly smaller. And it's just a matter of weighing them out, rolling them up, and obviously leaving a bit of room on there so that we'll be able to flatten them out. So I'm just going to get that done, and then I'll show you what we do with the fork. You can squash them entirely with the fork, but you might find if you just give them a bit of a flattening with your hand first, you can then, because they will start to crack around the edges, you can sort of minimise that a little bit by obviously repairing it. Having flattened them, what we do is we take our fork and we press down with the tines and then pull it out, and then we do it across the other way, and again it's better if we sort of pull it out rather. You can try lifting it out, but quite often sometimes, and so just to prove me wrong, this time it didn't stick. Sometimes sticks. So we're just basically going to go through each one of them flat ones, and they might look a bit rough around the edges, but that's fine. If you wanted them smarter, you can make them smarter, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to get all them done. I've still got a little bit of dough left, so we've got some more. 26, 4. I've probably got about 25, 26 in total. If you want to make them bigger, do 40 grams, you'll get about 18 there. And they're going to go in the oven for about 10 minutes. Now, they've had 10 minutes. However, unlike normally, where you would bring them out, perhaps let them cool slightly and then put them onto wire racks. You can see they've spread a bit, which is to be expected. These are going to continue cooking using the residual heat from the cookie and from the tray. So we leave them in the tray to cool completely before we transfer them off anywhere else. So they're going to be very hot at the minute, and so we can't taste them, but we'll come back to them a bit later when they've cooled down. You can see not only have they spread a little bit, but the tines of the fork has meant that it's prevented it sort of rising a bit and sort of splitting apart. So we'll just leave these to cool. Maybe coffee. Well, I think I'm going to have that without one of these. So they've had about 35 minutes, 40 minutes cooling down. They are sort of pretty much cool. They're a little bit damp on the bottom, but I think that's partly because they was on that silicone mat. So I've put them on the wire rack now, and we'll leave them to sort of dry up a little bit, if you like, before we put them anywhere. But they're nice and soft inside. Slight little crunch on the outside, but very, very peanutty, obviously. And although that was salted peanut butter, and I added a little bit more salt, it does taste like typical salted peanut butter, but not overly salted. It is exactly what it says it is. It's a peanut butter cookie. And if you like peanut butter, you're going to like these. So cheers.